Martin-kilgour Longevity Lifestyle Designers, this is Zach here. Are you aware that the ratio of oxygen to other molecules in our atmosphere has been changing for the worst over the last few decades? Now the cause of this is not what you might think in terms of the destruction of our jungles, forests, and rainforests. Actually, the majority of our oxygen in our atmosphere gets created, and there's a whole cyclical process to this, but the majority of it comes from our oceans, the plankton, the plant life. But yes, the forests do provide a certain amount of oxygen. We need to preserve them for that as well as other means. However, the main reason the oxygen levels in ratio to other molecules in the air is going down is because of the pollution in our atmosphere and the greenhouse effect from burning of fossil fuels and other pollutants. Now, what does this mean for us? Well, in fact, it means that we have a more difficult time getting the oxygen we need into our bodies, and it also means that we have a larger array of toxic chemicals that are being introduced into our environment that we're inhaling. On top of this, people spend the vast majority of their time indoors nowadays. They're breathing air that is quite stale or stagnant. It's got even lower oxygen levels than air on the outside, especially now that homes are becoming more and more sealed off. It's a desire of the housing industry to create the perfect home that has absolutely no air leakage and keeps all the heat in, and that's great for your energy bill, but it's horrendous for your health in the long term if you have no breathability in your home. So my personal feeling is that people need to pay more attention on being able to heat their own bodies instead of heating their own home, and having that the drafty type of home. A lot of people don't like the idea of that, but that is actually better for our health if we look at the whole body. And then there's also the factor that we're just breathing this air over and over again. It's becoming higher in carbon dioxide and not so rich in oxygen, which is crucial to the health of our entire body. Plus, we're also trapping and keeping a lot of pollutants in our homes that are created from off-gassing of paint, off-gassing of plastics, off-gassing of carpets, off-gassing of furniture, off-gassing of curtains. Most people live in very toxic homes unless you go to the lengths that everyone should be going to, such as using organic cotton or hemp products to build their home, as well as the proper types of wood without all the toxic chemicals slathered onto it. And yeah, there's a whole way you can turn your home into an eco-green type of living environment, and that's definitely the ideal that you want to strive for in the long term. However, we do live in a home, and we have what we have, and we have to make do with what we have, and one way to do that is to start altering your space to allow yourself the benefits of a cleaner environment in terms of your air quality. One way to do this is to bring in what we would find in nature if we were outdoors to the inside of your home, and that's namely plants, like my friend here. This is actually a snake plant. You've probably seen them around in restaurants. They often put them in there. You should be able to find them fairly easy in your own area. And it is a fantastic plant to have in your bedroom because it has the ability to convert carbon dioxide into oxygen at a higher rate at nighttime. So when you're sleeping, your body actually goes through quite a bit of detoxification in terms of repairing itself, getting rid of all the stagnant energies in the body, and it releases it through the lungs. 70% of the detoxification of our body occurs through breathing. And this is more than just carbon dioxide that we're emitting through our lungs. It's quite interesting, actually. So having plants that can convert these gases that we don't need and can actually be toxic if we're reintroducing them into our bloodstream are beneficial in terms of keeping the air clean and vibrant. Now, this is just one example of a plant. There's other plants that you can use strategically throughout your living environment, such as the areca palm, which removes xylene and toluene from the air. And some of these things are some of the toxic compounds that come off plastics and carpets and other things. And then there's also plants that can be used specifically to increase the oxygenation in the air. Snake plant, for instance, is a small plant on that in terms of amount of volume of oxygen it can produce. I just picked this one up at my local farmer's market from someone for $10, so it's a good place to start. But yeah, there's a wide range of different plants you can use in a strategic way in the different areas of your home. You want the ones that produce a lot of oxygen during the day, perhaps in your office, if you have a home office. You want those ones in the living spaces. You want a number of the snake plants in your bedroom, because that's going to be where you're spending most of your time at night, and they produce more oxygen at night. Then, of course, you have the other plants that are better at detoxifying the air. And there's a study done by NASA with Dr. B.C. Wolverton, is actually the researcher behind this, and he was really the first one to look at a variety of plants and see what their different properties were in terms of their ability to detoxify the air. And they were doing this research specifically to find out what plants would be the best to bring up into their spacecraft. And generally, yes, all plants are going to be producing a certain amount of oxygen, and they're going to be detoxifying the air a certain amount, but there are key plants that can do this to a greater degree. And we have limited resources in terms of our space and finances, etc., depending on who you are and where you're at in life. And so we definitely can't turn our homes into giant rainforests, although that could be a lot of fun if you want to go that route. So if this is the case, you might be interested in choosing the plants that give you the most benefits with the least amount of consumption of resources, of financial and space. So yeah, snake plant's one, and if you visit my article that I've written in the top right-hand info box, just click the link there, click more info, and the link will appear. And you can read about these different plants that I think are at the top of the list of the best ones to introduce into your home environment. So a major benefit of higher levels of oxygen in your home, in the air, is the increased alertness that you're going to experience, as well as productivity. There's a lot of studies on this. I'm not going to go into those. That's another topic in terms of benefits of oxygen, but cancers can't exist in a high oxygenated environment. A variety of other pathogenic diseases and fungus and bacteria can't exist in an oxygen-rich body. So being able to breathe deeply, have the oxygen available, and having the toxins cleared out of the air is a major strategy to a long life. And this might not seem like a very big one, but it actually is. If you consider a lot of the longest lived cultures often live in very pristine environments. Often they're a little more elevated. It's actually noticed that the longest lived areas of the world are often mountainous, or at least elevated to a degree. So they're in areas that are rich with lush green vegetation. Although there is less oxygen the higher up you go in elevation, the body actually adapts, and because it's outdoors, you're going to be breathing, working more vigorously, and the body can adapt to less oxygen. But when it's in a stagnant home where the air's not moving, there's not the negative ions that are present at these higher altitudes, your body's not going to be able to compensate and run on less oxygen. You're just going to deplete yourself, and it becomes a very draining way to live over the long term. Perhaps my favorite oxygenating strategy would be to incorporate a sprouting regimen into your life and into your home environment. So as I mentioned, sprouts are another way to bring oxygenation into your living environment. And my little mini operation here is a little bit minimal, I'd say, at the moment. However, any amount is going to help, obviously. And sprouts are, because they're so young and they're so, generally grow a large amount of them, they can bring quite a good amount of oxygen into the environment for how big they are and for the amount of space they take up. Plus, you've also got the added benefit of the nutrition that you get from them. As you can see, these are just a mixture of sunflower and pea greens in the same tray, and then these lower ones are pea greens and sunflowers that I've separated into one, just in half in the tray. Yeah, so if you've ever walked into a greenhouse where someone's growing sprouts for mass production, it's quite an experience because it's such oxygen-rich air, and you really feel the high vibrational energy of the food that's being grown. It's quite an experience. So yeah, you can get a little mini version of that in your own home. There are other ways to create a positive, or at least in this sense I should say negative, because we want negative ions in our air, not positive ions, but a beneficial air environment in your home. And there's other ways of doing this that I'll discuss in other videos. There's air purifiers and other things you can do. But that's another topic for another day.